Welcome to episode 12 of the Stitching Geek podcast. My name is Mallory, aka the Stitching Geek, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm coming to you from outside of Portland, Oregon, and today I have a little bit of spinning, some works in progress, an actual finished item, and holiday knitting. So if you know me in real life and are worried about getting potentially spoiled on some knitted gifts, watch at your own peril. So the first thing I wanted to do was apologize for the long delay in getting this episode recorded and up and out. There was some family stuff that was going on with some health things, and I just wasn't in the right place to record for a couple weeks. Then we were out of town for a few days, and then we had another heat wave here in Portland, and it just was too hot to record. So hopefully I can get back on a schedule moving forward. My work schedule has changed, so the posting days of the week will likely change as well. So just keep that in mind. But glad to still have you guys with me, and thanks for coming back. So let's get started. Over my little unexpected hiatus, I decided that it would be fun to potentially try to knit some things as gifts, mostly for family members, and stuff like that. I have a weird self-esteem thing where it's like, I don't feel like my knitted things are a real gift. So I'm trying to work on that. But all that being said, I started and finished, this project. It is, let's see here we go. The Bandana Cowl by Pearl Soho. It's, it was really quick knit. I finished it probably in 5-6 hours total of knitting. It is a cowl that just kind of goes over your head here. Hopefully this won't hit the microphone too much, but you just kind of put it on. And as you can see, it just fits like a little bandana. So this is going to be for my mother-in-law. She is a very active person and lives in Canada. And she walks her dogs at like 6 a.m. when it's cold. She does dragon boat racing, I think kind of all year round, like they train and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a good gift for her to put underneath a coat or a sweater or whatever, just to kind of keep her neck warm. So many ums today to keep her neck warm. This is knit out of Malabrigo Rios in the, I'm gonna butcher the name, in the Procyon colorway. It was also colorway 139. I do have a skein and a half left of this yarn, so I'm also planning on making her a coordinating hat to go with it. I haven't decided yet if it's going to be just kind of a simple like recipe hat, just like kind of brim, head, decreases, or if it's going to be something from a pattern. But I do have plenty of yarn and pretty much plenty of time before I would need to give it to her. And then, like I said, I'm hoping to knit a few holiday gifts out of stash. So you'll actually see more of that in Works in Progress. So in Works in Progress, you'll kind of be able to tell I've been more in a starting mood than a finishing mood, if based on the pile of projects I have in front of me to show you guys. So let's just kind of jump right in here. So in this lovely owl bag I have no idea who made it. I got it years ago at a yarn store in Canada. And I'm a big fan of owls, so I had to have it, basically. So in here, I am knitting just a pair of vanilla socks out of some Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the Nightfall multi-colorway, which looks... So this is what the sock looks like. You can kind of see here. And it, similar on the other side. It's got some pooling. And then the skein currently looks like this. So it's just a lot of purples and grays. I did look it up on Knit Picks, and they no longer make this colorway, and it doesn't even look like they do the stroll in the multicolors anymore either. So this is deep stash. This is from when I first started learning how to knit, which was back in, I think, like 2012, maybe a little earlier. It was, several years ago now. So when I first heard about Knit Picks and their very reasonable yarn, not sponsored, just a fan, I did pick some of this up, and I'm a big purple person. The yarn is 75% merino and 25% superwash, so it's a great sock yarn. And I have 250-gram balls of it, so I should have plenty for a pair of socks for my giant size 11 feet. The main thing here is that I kind of fell out of sock knitting. I can never really knit a pair that fits me correctly or in a way that I like. Closest I got was a pair of Rose City rollers. So this pair, I'm going to try a short row heel to see if it was a heel issue. It could also be that I might be knitting the gauge too densely. As I've been knitting this is on 2.75 millimeter needles. Yeah, so 2.75 millimeter needles, and it is basically bulletproof. With 64 stitches, it's just a vanilla sock pattern, just, you know, top down, cuff, more cuff, like rib cuff, this calf part, heel toe, you know, heel foot toe. But I haven't been in love with the heel flaps that I've done in the past, so I'm going to try the short row heel and see if it maybe works a little better. So I do have this book, Bigfoot Knits by Andy Smith, that I think goes into real detail about how to knit socks for bigger feet and like how to make sure you knit something that, you know, fits your foot comfortably. But if you take a look, like, it's a lot of text, and I just haven't sat down and read it. So I'm going to maybe give that a look-see and see if I can, if this pair of socks doesn't work out, see if I can figure out what I'm doing. Not wrong, but wrong. It may also be worth maybe going up a needle size. I might be knitting even tighter now and just casting on a few less stitches to see if I can get a sock that I like the fit of. But we'll see. If you guys have suggestions, let me know. The pooling. Oh, and I did want to talk about the pooling so far. I couldn't tell if I liked it at first, but I'm kind of into it now that it's kind of doing this cool, like if you unfold it this way, let's see if I can do it here. It kind of is doing like this triangular thing almost. And I like the symmetry of it. And just because the way the colors look and how it's pooling up, I kind of think it looks like a bruise. So they're now affectionately known as my bruise socks. You know, we'll see how that goes once I get down a little further on the first sock and try out the heel and see if I like the fit. So next on the list is that I actually swatched. I swatched several times for a sock head hat out of Dreamin's Color Smooshie in the Cool Fire colorway, which was also number 110. As far as I can tell, though, this colorway has been discontinued, so that's going to be a theme here because this is all stash yarn. Just kind of going with what I like and what I don't and going from there. So I asked my sister-in-law what her favorite color was, and I gave her some warning that I wanted to knit some stuff for her, and she let me know pink, and we, after some more talking, a dusty pink. So I thought this would be a good colorway that I had in my stash to make a sock head hat out of. So in the Erin Lane bag here with the Princess Bride sheep on it. I was like, stop trying to focus on me. There we go. I guess it would help if I actually did this, but Princess Bride, I cast on several times because as always, trying to knit in the round, I mess up. But I cast on for the Sock Head Slouch Hat by Kelly McClure. I haven't gotten very far. I had a couple rows done, and then I realized I had not cast on enough stitches, so I pulled it back out. Originally, I tried casting on with a super stretchy cast on, but I, as always, hated the way it looked after a couple of rounds. It felt too, loosey-goosey and, not very professional. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but not as tight as I wanted it. I did try again that particular cast on with just some scrap yarn and worsted and it looked better. So it may just be a better thing to do with thicker yarn than to try to do on fingering weight. Cause I feel like maybe the thicker yarn is a little more forgiving to show so much space in between. And I guess that's the point. There's supposed to be space. It's a loose cast on. It's like a stretchy cast on. I just always prefer the look of the long-tailed cast on because that's what I'm used to. So anyway, cast on long-tailed eventually. When I originally did the swatch, I did it on some needles, a couple size smaller, what the pattern called for, but I didn't love the fabric I was getting. It was a little too dense. I felt like I could just stand it straight up, which is not really what you want with a slouchy hat. So I just kind of did swatches until I came up with a fabric that I liked, which is this kind of a little more drapey. But still, it'll still be warm. And so I'm knitting this on my ChowGoo interchangeables in US size 5 or 3.75 millimeters. The pattern called for 2.75 millimeters. And so I did the math and figured it out, and so I basically have cast on for the child size in order to get an adult medium. Because I'm a tight knitter, but I went up several needle sizes to try and compensate for that, and also to get a fabric that I liked. But it'll work out. Like, I'll do the right amount of brim for an adult. I think it'll be great. But so far so good. It's coming out pretty well. I've done a sock head slouch hat before, and I really liked it. I think I showed it last time, the one that I was trying to mend and couldn't figure it out because the hole was just too big. So I'll probably end up doing another one for me at some point. And then the Dream in Color Smooshie in the Cool Fire colorway is 100% superwash merino, so I think that'll be great for a hat. My sister-in-law is a bit more outdoorsy than I am, so this way if she does like wear it on hikes or whatever, she can throw it in the wash and dry it, and that'll be great. So yeah, that's that one. So that was a new cast on my little hiatus. And then in a non-new cast on and more of a progress here, let me put this bag away. And then so in this Erin Lane bag, which is the little sheep doing different crafts, I like this little Bob Ross sheep personally. I have my Bankhead hat by Susie Gourlay that I'm knitting in the Malabrigo Rios Wales Road colorway. You can see from the last time here, I had the Progress Keeper that I've knit quite a bit on the patterning. Still loving it, still super soft, still loving the color. I've also noticed that Malabrigo is kind of a ongoing theme this time, which you'll see in a minute. But yeah, I think this one will end up being for me. It's going super well. I still like the pattern, still like the yarn. Awesome. Not a lot to say about it, just making progress. And then finally, I've been doing some spinning, which I haven't done in a really long time. So here we can kind of see what I've been working on. As is the theme for today, this is from Deep Stash Fiber. I wish that was the name of the fiber. I don't know if there's a company called that. I think it's a Malabrigo Noob. Can't be sure. Lost the tag ages ago, but this is it kind of pre-drafted. Came in a braid. Blues, purples, yellows, greens. It's a fun colorway. So I've been spinning that on my Shacked Ladybug on her Works bobbin with my Woolly Winder, and I've been having a lot of fun. I finally kind of figured out what was causing. So usually when I spin, my hands start to hurt, and I kind of finally figured out it's because I was death gripping the fiber for fear of the twist getting into the pre-draft portion. So I've really loosened my grip on both, the holding the twist and the part that I hold here. And that's really, really been helping. I've also been taking frequent breaks because my body is not used to spinning. So I'm really, really into it. I'm looking at electric wheels now. I have no idea if I'm spinning it woolen or worsted. I think worsted. I don't know enough about spinning to tell you how I'm doing it. I'm just kind of practicing. My plan here is to potentially chain ply it, I think, because I didn't really have any plans when I started spinning it. So that way it'll just keep the color progression. But then I have a few more bats and braids and stash, so hopefully I can kind of keep this up. But yeah, it's been good. I've been enjoying it. So that's that. And then I don't have it. So for acquisitions, I don't have anything to actually show you yet. But as I said, I've been kind of on a spinning kick. So I signed up for the Hello Yarn Fiber Club. So I should hopefully be getting my first one in a couple months. And then my plan is to do an unboxing video separately from the podcast itself, because I think unboxing videos are fun. So we'll do that next time I get something crafty. And with that, let's move on to the geek side of things. So on the geek side of things, I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley. That's basically what I've been doing if I haven't actually been knitting. It's been nice having my knitting and crafting motivation back, but at the same time, with all the family stuff that was going on, I needed something kind of familiar and restful. Like when the pandemic started, I rewatched all of Parks and Recreation because that show is very soothing to me. Stardew Valley is kind of that game for me. If you don't know what Stardew Valley is, I don't know if I've talked about it on the show before, but you inherit a farm and you go and you plant crops and you sell them, and you can, marry a villager. There's a village and you fish, and it's super low stakes. It's very calming. It's beautiful. It was created, coded, art, written, everything by one guy. I think his real name's something Barone, but he goes by Concerned Ape. And I had been following that game for years before it finally came out. It's a very like an homage to Harvest Moon, which is another game series that's very similar that I really, really like. So that's why I've been following it so far. And then I have also been watching the Knit Girls podcast here on YouTube. I've known of it for a long time because the Knit More girls talk about it a lot on their podcast. I just never gotten around to watching it. At work, I do a lot of emailing, so I like to have stuff on in the background to just kind of keep my mind occupied. I always kind of joke that it's like leaving a dog by themselves and you turn on the radio so they don't feel like they're alone. It just makes me feel like I have company. So I've been catching up on their podcast. I went back like 10 or so episodes, decided I liked it. Now I've gone back like to March 2020 to kind of see how they dealt with the pandemic and things like that. So the cool thing about the Knit Girls podcast is that since it's a video podcast like this one, I get to see all their projects. And even if their projects are ages old, it's still fun to see what yarn they're using. It's also been super inspiring to get me back into spinning, because Laura, one of the hosts of the Knit Girls, is a prolific spinner. So it's kind of nice to see like, oh, right, spinning is very cool and fun. So I can highly recommend both Stardew Valley and the Knit Girls podcast, if you haven't seen it somehow. And the Knit Girls podcast has a segment where they talk about what they're reading, which has gotten me back into reading. Because a lot of what they read is stuff I'm interested in, like paranormal mysteries and like cozy mysteries or YA. And it kind of seems like we're all on the same wavelength where we don't want bummer books. So if it sounds like a bummer, I don't read it. But I've read some books, new books I haven't read before. So within 3 days, I read 3 of the books in the Innkeeper series by Alana Andrews. And I'm definitely going to be reading more. In fact, I finished the 4th one this morning. Books are super fun. They're paranormal, urban fantasy with some sci-fi thrown in there, which is really interesting. There's werewolves and vampires and other creatures. There's planet hopping. There's wormholes. There's, magical inns. It's very, very cool. So if you like any of that stuff, I highly recommend it. And really, I'm just kind of waiting to get paid again before I just buy a ton more. I don't know how many there are in the series right now, but I know there's at least book 5 because it's just like tempting me to buy it and read it. But yeah, so that's it for episode 12. Thanks again for your patience with me in this delayed time here. Apologies for the sun camera angle change and things like that as well. The battery died in the middle of me recording, so there might have been kind of a weird skip there in the middle of the geek section, so my bad. The content should be correct, but the angle may have changed because I had to take the camera off the tripod to put a new battery in, and stuff happens there. But again, so thank you for sticking with me here and coming back to watch episode 12 of the Stitching Geek podcast. If this is your first episode, welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't yet and are inclined to do so, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Likes and comments would be great as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on socks and how to make socks that fit best for you. Otherwise, I will hopefully see you in a few weeks. Have a great day, guys.